Hello, hello, hello. Today we're gonna be finishing Ludwig the Holy Blade. At least drawing Ludwig. I don't know if we'll finish the border because I haven't even started it yet. Um, let's do this. There we go. And I did like having the full window up last time. So let's pull that up. If I remember how to do it. There we go. New window. New window. I pull that out. I bring it over here. I gotta make it full size though. And let's zoom out just a tiny bit so I can keep it a little bit smaller. At least on my screen. Okay. Here we go. I'll make it bigger on stream. You don't really need to see my history window, so I'm not worried about that. Cool. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. Oh, I thought my mic is muted for a second. All right, we're good. We're good. Let's see. So I have been looking at. Do I have the right brush? Let's figure that out. Yes, I do. I have been looking at a lot of stuff for Ludwig. Because although I replayed Bloodborne somewhat recently, you know, the thing with so many Souls games is that's a little tough to always have every bit of the lore in the back of your mind. So I was looking into like what might go into this big border here on the outside. So I was seeing that first he drops the guidance rune. I think including some of the symbols of the guidance rune and even just some of the like hunter's runes in general would be pretty interesting. The other thing is, you know, he's like one of the first hunters of the Healing Church. So some of the symbolisms of the Healing Church, making some of this kind of look a little bit like a Gothic church, would also be pretty cool. So I'm thinking there's like maybe some small kind of, I don't know what they call it, like church windows, I don't know, some of that style in there. And I'm thinking about maybe some text that says like Ludwig the Holy Blade or something. So I'm still a little undecided on that, especially because I feel like I still have some work to do for him, because I do really like how the face ended up turning out. I think there's still a little bit of work I need to do in the mouth here, but in general, I think I just want to make sure that most of the body is textured and like has a similar amount of detail. So I'm gonna work on that for a bit, and then also get the sword finished because the sword does need a lot of work on it still. And then the next step would be kind of the water that sits down here. And then beyond that point, we're working on the border. So that's my plan. I'll probably talk about that a few different times today, depending on who might join the stream. But I've really been liking working on Ludwig. One of the most fun drawings I've done in a while, especially because I love the fight itself. I love the song, I love the music, and like I recently got to see a friend of mine play Bloodborne, and they also really were hyped about Ludwig and liked Ludwig because this is the first time they did the DLC. They've played Bloodborne before. So I was like I was living life through somebody else, so I was like, damn, I really like living vicariously through someone, you know? That like first experience of fighting Ludwig. But yeah, it just kind of got me inspired to do this one more complete, because I had this old sketch for several months now, actually, and I just never really worked on it. Also, I got a new little pop filter. I got a pop filter. So I don't know if that does much for me. Although I will say I feel like I need to, where is it? Oh yeah, like turn this up a little bit so I'm a little bit louder, I think. I don't know how much more louder it needs to be, but maybe there's fine. How does that sound? I think it's probably fine. Just because it's not super close to me, I'm like, I feel like I need to pump it up a little bit. Because if I bring it too close now, I can't see because of the pop filter. My mic is like fairly small, but the pop filter's not. Also, I gotta kind of like really look at what I was doing in here, so I can kind of like match it a little bit. And I think there's little bits in here too that might need some extra like contrast boost in here. I do think some of these parts need to be darker. I think that's kind of the main thing. Okay, this song will kill me if I listen to it though. All right. I'm glad to be feeling a lot better. Cause last week I just felt like crap, man. I felt like crap. I feel like I wasn't doing much of anything. But I feel basically back to normal now. Sorry, I'm noodling here, and I don't need to be. I need to focus on the contrast thing that I was just talking about. Okay. I do feel like for some reason my brush is a little stronger than it was before, which I don't mind because I am trying to A, not push so hard, and B, get some contrast in here. So I guess that works out for me. In general, I guess YouTube, you'd know this if you're seeing this. But I'm thinking I might upload this one to YouTube and just kind of be a little chill and just kind of do it like a mirroring thing, you know? I don't normally like engage with that kind of content. I don't know, maybe it just like doesn't really work for me to like watch somebody work. It doesn't make me want to work. I don't know. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't notice it. Who knows? But I've been seeing a lot of people really like that doubling thing. And I think it helps. Is it people with ADHD? I think that's what it is. people with ADHD respond to being more productive if they're like with somebody who's also being productive. So like there's doubling now where like you do that like online or digitally. You watch somebody do that and then it makes you feel more productive, makes you want to actually do the same kind of thing. You like mirror their actions in some ways. Not like exactly, but like their whatever it is that they're doing. So I figure that might be good. Give it a shot. See how it goes. And I think just saying some stuff here and there and not trying to worry too much about, am I constantly talking? I'm just gonna talk as if like I'm talking to a friend or something. I don't know. Yeah, I do think the contrast is pretty good. Contrast is one of those like artistic principles that like it's so obvious, everyone can understand contrast. It's one of the easiest ones. But even with the amount of growth I've had with art, I still find myself, at least in like the first few stages, going, I still don't have enough contrast. I'm still not like utilizing this to the best that it could be. So I have to think about that more. Still, I always encourage people to like go for high contrast stuff, because more people can access your work better, and there's such a huge amount of people with low visibility, and high contrast really matters to those people, And I've had some of those people in my life, still do, and I always think about them whenever I'm like working on stuff, and I'm like, oh, you can kind of barely see this, and I might go like, oh, you can barely see this, but I like it. But then I go, well, it might still look better with high contrast because you want everyone to be able to see it. Man, I was also expressing some gratitude towards YouTube last time because I was like, oh, I finally made it to 500 subscribers, which is a small number. It's nothing big, but I appreciate every nibbling that has clicked that button for me. And I found that YouTube didn't care because they've taken every single one of my shorts and shown them to nobody, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? I do think that maybe there's this thing because like every once in a while I'll kind of get on a kick where I'll like make a bunch of stuff and I'll be so far ahead. Like I don't think I've ever been more far ahead in terms of like putting content out on YouTube. I've got so much stuff that at this point I'm like, all right, I just need to like draw and record myself drawing for a bit so I can actually put some of these scripts to use, so I can actually like put something, along with this content, because right now I've actually used up just about everything I've got. Not really, but like a lot of it. And so I've uploaded a lot of stuff and scheduled it out and stuff. And I usually do schedule stuff out. I just don't schedule it out as far as I have. And this time around, YouTube really just said like, nah, don't be scheduling stuff out. I could be paranoid, but I do feel like if you schedule too much stuff out, YouTube just kind of thinks that you're putting out slop. Even if it, like, I put out some, I think, really good quality stuff. But I think it kind of goes like, nah, this is low effort content. You need to take longer. You know, you shouldn't have 2 weeks worth of shorts up or something. And fair enough, fair enough, I guess. But now I feel like I have to take some of those down because like literally some of them have not been shown to anyone. So I'm like, I have to take them down and re-upload them and see if it'll be better next time. But whatever. I'm not like too upset about it because like in some ways, because I don't have like such a huge platform and I don't have like people like frothing at the mouth for content or anything like that. I basically have like an extra day because I can just take stuff down and then I can put it back up and I don't have to upload anything that day because basically YouTube skipped a day for me. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way my brain's working. Okay. I think the tricky part here is going to be texturing this skin in a way that requires many lines and still looks like skin, you know? That's gonna be the tough part. I do kind of wish that YouTube could listen to the music I'm listening to on Twitch. Such an annoying thing, you know? Not that there's anything crazy being played right now, but like, there are moments where like the song plays or something, you know, like a good one comes on, and then I'm like, okay, we got a good song. I gotta lock in, and then I turn up the music and I shut up for a little bit while the song plays, and I just like try to draw really hard, you know. And it might just be like some random Lies of P song on YouTube, so not much I can do about that. Not that Lies of P music is bad, it really isn't bad, but I think it fits the general vibe, and I'm so glad there's so much of it, but also, like, there's only so much of it, you know? So, yeah, I think that texturing is actually working out just fine. I'm also curious too, like, I think I will just upload this to YouTube, so I mean, I'm also talking to YouTube here. Let me know, because if you like this, and you want me not to put music over the YouTube version, I can do that actually. Because I don't know if maybe like people would just prefer to put their own music on instead or something. But if somebody has a preference on YouTube, just let me know in the comments. I will abide. On Twitch though, you get what I get, so no complaining here. Mm. What do we think? I think that's working out. I saw Good Will Hunting for the first time yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, the day before. The day before. And I've always heard like it's such a good movie, you should watch it or whatever. And it's been on my watch list forever. And then finally, my wife is like, I kind of want to watch that too. And I was like, yes, let's watch it. And we watched it. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. And I love seeing a good Robin Williams performance too, and he's fantastic in it. And I think I had seen maybe bits and pieces or maybe the whole thing at some point on like a YouTube clip or something of Robin Williams character. He has that monologue on the park bench in front of the swans, and he says that famous line of like, it's like, you might know all about Michelangelo and stuff, but do you know what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel? And that whole monologue is just so good, man. It's so good, and I feel like it's Good Will Hunting in some ways to me is maybe more relevant now than ever, because we have so many people that are like very online, and like I'm not saying this to like shame anybody at all, because I'm also pretty online, and like if you know me in person, you also know that like I'm not going out all the time and stuff, but I do like to like go out. I like to go out, but I think I'm a little bit of almost like a workaholic. I like to draw a lot, and I like to work on a lot of different stuff, and so I'm always at home working on stuff, and that's kind of the main driver that keeps me home, is that I'm doing stuff. Sorry, I'm taking a minute to take a look at what I've been doing, and I think I like what I'm doing. It's just very time consuming, but that's okay. The thing about Good Will Hunting, is that Will Hunting is incredibly smart, and so like thinks he knows everything. He thinks he can judge everyone, based off of stuff that he's essentially read in books and stuff. And they make it no secret at all that he is actually really smart. He is actually pretty special. But the reason why Sean, who is Robin Williams' character, can connect with them so well is because Sean has lived experience and stuff. And he knows that this kid who's never left Boston might be able to know like some of the factual information about stuff, but never really fully experience what life is about. And having that in your life you can pretend all you want that like reading something online or reading something from a book, or just watching a video essay on it, or like instructional videos or whatever, can teach you about the world, and it certainly can, but it will never ever ever come close to what life can teach you. And it's very important to get out there to try to experience the world a little bit and to try to connect with other people, because even if, and again, it is very difficult, it's not easy, it's hard to go out because it costs money, it's hard to connect with other people because there's loneliness epidemic and people are staying inside more than ever, and of course that sucks and stuff, and like people are also more wary about strangers and stuff, but I think also like the more that you like don't give up and that you keep trying and stuff like that to do this kind of stuff, more people will be less discouraged over time because somebody else will give it a try and they'll eventually connect with you and stuff, and those people will be less discouraged, and then they'll encourage more people that give it a shot for the first time. It's a snowball effect, but it starts like a very, very small speck. It starts as a snowflake and stuff, and you just gotta keep at it and stuff. Don't give up on the human element of things because it is unlike anything. The smell of the Sistine Chapel is just a hyper specific metaphor. Because it's sure, like not a lot of people know what it smells like, but we all know what it looks like. We've all seen the ceiling in some photos somewhere or something like that, and only people who've gone there actually understand. But what it's really trying to get at is like the quirks, the wonders, the unique parts of people is what's truly beautiful. Not, what they look like, not what it is that they do for work, not what it is that they present to everyone else. It's what they only present to you. And that's not always about a partner. Sometimes that's just about a friend. In Will Hunting's case, it was a partner. But I think that you can also like forge incredibly close bonds with people. Like it's it doesn't have to be a partner that you spend the rest of your life with. It's like I think a lot of people are really afraid of those connections sometimes because I think of two main reasons. One of them, like some people are still afraid of societal pressures, like what it means to be a strong, like straight man. That sounds weird as hell, but like bear with me for a second, and that's that society always like makes it so like, oh, you can't do anything that like a gay man would do because that's not what a straight man would do. But it's like, it's okay to tell another man that you love him. It's like my best friends, when we get off the phone or when we, stop hanging out, we don't just say, see you later, man. It's like we do say, love you, and it's more common now, but it is, I think, still very much a thing that people are like scared of a bit. And I think this is the least important of the two that I'm talking about, is this societal pressure, because you can't just get over it, you can just like try it and realize that like, oh wow, like saying I love you to a man makes me 0% more gay, That's not something you have to actually worry about. And nobody perceives you that way either. So it's that's like the easiest one to get over. You just gotta do it and like get over yourself. I think the other thing though is the act of giving. And this is something that like I think it's based off of how you were raised. And like it's not to say anything mean about the way that you were raised or anything like that. But some people were given a lot and not giving a ton. And I think like you want to get into the habit of like being able to give to somebody and expect like not even a thank you. Like don't even expect a thank you, expect to get nothing back in return. And when you live your life that way, I think it actually makes you a lot happier. Now you want to be careful because you don't want to just like give everything in your life away, give all your time, give all your money. You don't want to do that. But like the things that don't actually matter too much to you, like if money's not that big of a thing, maybe it is money, but like also just like being kind to others, like holding the door open for somebody and like helping somebody pick up something that they dropped or letting them know like, hey, you dropped something if they didn't notice. Really small things like that. You start there and then you can kind of build up to bigger things over time and just expect nothing back in return. Then I think you kind of put yourself on the other side of things where you're happy to not get anything at all and for things not to necessarily go your way. But when they do, you're like, oh, this is extra special, which is the way that things should feel. And I think also so many people will ruin friendships, especially new friendships, because at first, it's interesting to just talk to somebody and like meet with somebody for the first time. But then, as you start getting used to somebody, if you start noticing that this person is always taking, never giving, then you're like, I don't know why I even hang out with this person. Like they're not considerate, and you don't want to fall in the trap of being the person that's being considered to be inconsiderate. And so I think by just like giving and not expecting something in return, you live a happier life, you live a better life, and also I think it makes for longer lasting friendships. Now, that being said, where you want to be careful is that like it's okay to like give and not get anything back in return. But you also don't want to end up on either side of one of these spectrums, which is one, anytime somebody does something nice for you, you can't take it. Like, I have friends where it's like, oh, you buy them a drink, they have to buy you a drink in return. They have to give back that favor. They have to do it. Otherwise, it's like, it's almost on their conscience that they feel guilty or something. You don't want to do that. Because I think in general, it just creates a lot of environments where like somebody's like uncomfortable to give to you because you can't take it. Like you can't take the compliment, and then you just make it worse instead of just being like, oh, thank you, I really appreciate it. And like, of course you can always offer to buy the next drink and stuff, but like you don't want to be the person that's pressuring to like, I have to buy you something, I have to do it immediately. Don't do that. You also want to make sure that like you don't want to keep tallies on like what other people give back to you at all, but you do want to like acknowledge like, is this person that I'm always giving back here and there? because like they don't have to necessarily give back an equivalent amount or anything like that. But if they try and they're like, oh, hey, I just want to show some gratitude, let me buy you a sandwich or something. And like maybe you help them move or something much bigger than like buying a sandwich or something. Acknowledge that and then be like, okay, this person is, they show gratitude for what I do. And that's the minimum that you want, is like showing some gratitude. Even if it's not an equivalent amount. That way you're not being taken advantage of. But you just don't want to tally it up and like, expect something in return. It's a really easy trap. And this is why I think this one's much more important and harder than the societal pressures of friendship and stuff. Because you just want to make sure that like you're not being taken advantage of, but also that you're not taking advantage of other people. And it's really easy to do both of those things. So it's a super fine balance, It's like you gotta watch that like your efforts are being respected and that they're being appreciated. But if you get nothing in return, that you're not upset by that, and that you're, leaning towards the preference of giving, not taking. I think one of the most annoying things, and I this could mess up a potential future job thing or something, but I feel like I don't meet, people higher up in like capitalist positions, like C-suites, that talk to you if they do not believe that there is something to gain. And sometimes that's trust. But I think it's more obvious, when the C-suite isn't in your company. Because if you're talking to somebody and they're in your company, it's a little easier to fall for the trap of like, oh, they care, or oh, they do this and stuff. And maybe they do a bit, but at least in my experience, you don't see them go out of their way to interact with you if they're not trying to get something. And sometimes that's just trust. And that's something that like a C-suite in any company, a smart one, is going to want you to trust them. Like their job security is founded on trust a bit. But if you're talking to a C-suite that's not within your company, I think it's a little bit more obvious to see that they won't really interact with you seriously if they don't believe that there's something to gain. And I'm sure this is not every single C-suite, okay? I'm sure. But it's a common trait. And I think that it's kind of one of those things where it's like very few people can be C-suites. Very few people have this, you say skill set, it's a little bit different. But there's also like a personality type, and certain competence level that you might need, at least to be a good one, right? We've seen some crazy C-suites in the news, but the warning there is just like, don't be that person. Don't be that person that's like, oh, like this person's uninteresting. There's nothing I can gain from them. I'm not interested in them as like a friend. I'm not interested in them as like a potential partner. They can't get me higher in my job. There's no reason for me to interact with them, so I'm just gonna not care, because like truly, those are people that like you can actually, I think, learn from a lot of, is the people that will probably benefit you none at all. Like life has never been about optimization, and it's like sometimes you need to live a part of your life to gain nothing at all. It's like, think about the like daily scroll, the daily doom scrolling that you might do. You're actually probably not getting anything out of that. Like, let's be real. You're probably not getting anything out of that. You might be losing some. You're certainly losing time, you know? So, why not lose time on, like, a person a little bit? You know? And again, it doesn't have to be crazy. You could just be, like, invited to a party and then you just end up sitting next to somebody and talking to them for a little bit. Even though you're like, I'm not really that interested in what they're interested in. I'm not that interested in them as a person exactly, but, like, I'm just gonna talk to them. Like, I'm telling you, sometimes these are interactions are like genuine gold. They're gold, man. Like, I remember as a younger person, I wouldn't really want to interact with, like, 60-year-olds or 70-year-olds at all, because, like, that didn't seem that interesting to me. But, like, genuinely, you can make some good friends, and make some really good connections and stuff through that. Like, I find that, like, not all of them, of course, surely, but, like, you can make a difference in other people's lives, right? Which goes back to the giving, not taking. But B, you can also, like, find that there's bits of information that you would have never accessed before because you were cutting off an entire, like, demographic of people. So much to gain from thinking that you're wasting your time and, like, continuing to do so. I think when you're interacting with people. Okay. I feel like I need to give my elbow a little bit of a break there. Maybe we pause and stretch for 1 second here. Stretch out the hands, the elbows, shoulders if you're drawing with your shoulder a lot, which is good. You should. At least, like, pop my fingers a little bit. Sorry if that bothers you. Do you drink some water too? Unfortunately, I'm drinking tea, so whatever. All right, and then we get back into the flow state. I don't even know how. I was talking about Good Will Hunting. That's what I was talking about. Got me on that big long rant. Highly recommend the movie, and, like, if you've not seen the movie, go watch it. Genuinely, I think it's applicable to just about anybody. I think especially if you're, like, either A, a big tough guy, or B, a smart guy, it's maybe more applicable to you, and you might enjoy it more. Maybe women would find it a little less interesting. Because at least, like, what I did notice is that, like, the only woman in the film, like, is just a love interest, and she's a, like, I think a good character. I think a very well written character. I like the character, but it is a little bit more of, like, a film for the fellas, but in, like, a not super gross way, I forget what that name of the test is, where, like, to see if it's, like, I mean, it's a little bit arbitrary, but, like, not so much so, because sometimes, like, the results are egregious. But where, like, you see, like, do two women talk to each other in this story, and are they talking about a man? Because, like, that sounds very basic. Like, most stories should have, like, two women talking to each other and they're not talking about a man. Like, that makes sense. But then you see the results and you're like, holy crap, there's so many that do not pass this test. And I certainly think that that film did not pass the test. You know, it's just that, like, everybody's a guy, you know. It's like therapist is a guy, the professors are guys, you know. Will Hunting he's a guy, all of his friends are guys, you know. Lots of that, you know. But I think it is kind of a lesson for guys too, you know. I think it's a lesson that not many women need to be taught, because the way that society treats them kind of enables them to already have this lesson taught to them. Maybe not for good reasons, but it is a good lesson to have. I am liking, mine's going so far. I hope that you're drawing along, that you are enjoying what you're doing. And if you're not, hopefully you're at least learning something. Hopefully you can stop for a second and go, what is this teaching me? Even if it's like, what is this teaching me? I still need to learn. Because that is important too, you know? That is important too. Sometimes you need to know what's the next thing I need to work on. Hmm. I think too, even if you're like not enjoying it, or you're struggling, and you're going, oh man, is this like worth my time? Maybe feeling a little upset with the progress you've made or something. Going through each one of those experiences of like, damn, this is hard. Damn, this doesn't feel good. Like, you have to check those boxes sometimes. You know, it's like everybody has to go through those before they hit that next breakthrough, that next like, oh, I got it. I figured something out here. So even if it means that you start over or you don't finish this particular piece and you try something different, it's certainly not a waste of time, because you need to hit those like rough patches sometimes, and sometimes you just gotta hit like a quota of them, you know? And that struggle too, you know, it's like, catch yourself with how you react to that struggle too, because how you face adversity, even small amounts, which is, it's like, it's just struggling with drawing. That's not a crazy thing to be facing adversity with. It's, in general, you're probably safe and fine when that's your biggest worry. But in those moments too, that's kind of what defines you. So it's like, even if it makes you upset and makes you feel a little sad, recognize how you feel and keep at it, right? Because you're not the type to just give up. Not because it didn't work out this one time. Or last time, or the time before that. Certainly went through the same thing myself, I'll tell you that. And if it is going well, remember that for the next time it's not. I'm going to try to do that. Because I'll certainly have some other times where it's not going to go well. I've talked about this book a few times on my channel, but I've read Hirohiko Araki's like manga in theory and practice. And if you don't know, Hirohiko Araki is the guy who wrote JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So pretty prolific mangaka, especially considering that he's still going. And in there, he does talk about this thing because people, like, he answers a few questions in there that he gets all the time. And one of them is like, how do you deal with how do you feel after you create something so like amazing or something really beautiful? Because he does have some really gorgeous illustrations. And he's like, well, I don't, I think it's intentional, but as soon as I finish something, I stop thinking about it. I don't sit there and I admire it. I move on. I go on to the next thing, because if I sit there and just stare in awe at like what beautiful thing I've made, I'm never going to move on to the next one. And if it's not beautiful and it's ugly, then I'm not sitting here wallowing in it. I'm, again, moving on to the next thing. So he's like, as soon as I finish something, I'm moving on. I'm not thinking about it anymore. And I remember when I read that, I was like, oh man, isn't that kind of a sad way to look at things? Because like, don't you want to bask a little bit in your like glory? Like, wow, you made something like actually truly beautiful, It's like you don't want to at least get some recognition for it. And then I found that like, if you do adopt this mindset a little bit, man, it makes every single failure so much easier to deal with. Because if you just like don't go back and like start digging through all your stuff before you start drawing or something like that, or like trying to like what is it called? Like justify your like artistic capabilities, or sorry, your artistic like desires based off of your capabilities. If you don't try to do that, like you just go like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what I've made before. It matters what I'm gonna be doing right now. And then I'm gonna move on to the next thing when I'm done with that, And it's a really good mindset to have. And I think the earlier that you try it, the better it is for you, man. It's really good. It just prevents you from also like being a has-been or something, because like you're never sitting there like going like, well, I've gained my credibility through this thing I did before, like I don't need to prove myself to you. It's like, no, it's like you just keep going, man. You just keep going, because I think that's one of the things that's a little bit disappointing about sometimes like big artists that were like once big and now they're not. You're like, oh man, all their old stuff was good. Now their new stuff's kind of like it's just being carried by the weight of what came before it. And like you can still enjoy that stuff, sure, but like it is a little disappointing when you're like, man, you might have made a masterpiece, but like everything that came after that was not hitting, man. It was not hitting. Or like you don't continuously grow that way, Don't get me wrong, that's probably like a really scary thing. Not probably, it is. I've heard a lot of stuff about people who've like made something that blew up and then they're like scared because they're like, what if the next thing isn't as good? Which I get it, for sure. But I think if you just try to make something better than last time and you don't acknowledge its level of success, it's probably a lot easier. I was a little worried about the hand, but I think the hand's actually turned out just fine. Just really trying to think about the bones and how the skin wraps around the bones for this. I guess one other thing that it helps to do is like help you build your own resilience, like build your own thick skin. Because you certainly need it if you're going to be an artist. It's a hard thing for a lot of people. Like sometimes you kind of just need to go through certain experiences to like get that thick skin. And for some people, unfortunately, it's like working at a place where they're just constantly crapping on your work or something, and they don't always do it in the nicest way. So then people just kind of naturally develop thick skin in order to survive. But I think you can do it in other ways too. I used to work very closely with a friend, and we did just tell each other, like, we're just gonna be honest with each other at all times, man. Like, no sugarcoating stuff, And sometimes that, of course, did cause, some tension, because sometimes it was like strong opinion against strong opinion and stuff. But in the end, I think it did develop like strong skin for the both of us. And if we ever give each other opinions on each other's work, I think we have such good rapport with each other because we've seen even those like strong debates bear a good fruit, So we kind of just like we trust a little bit. I think also, I think especially if you're watching this and you're drawing along, one thing I'm feeling, and I want to share this, is like there have been times in history, ancient history, even somewhat recent history, where like life for people has been so difficult that it's impossible to it's difficult to live, let alone be an artist, and I'm just grateful that like in this very moment right now I'm doing okay enough to have some free time to just draw for a few hours. It's like, ideally in a perfect world, that's not a privilege, that's just like something that is afforded to everybody. But like, the real world is that we don't always live in the perfect world. And so for the moment, I'm just grateful that like in this moment I can just draw freely, have minimal interruptions, and in general I can draw whatever I want without like much fear of repercussion. Whatever I draw is whatever I want to draw, and that's it. Other things in my life or in the world aren't necessarily perfect or amazing or whatever, but like I'm at least grateful that like right now I got time to draw, and nothing's really gonna stop me right now. Okay, almost done with this hand. I guess the whole arm really, because I started with the arm. Just got to finish this little finger and the thumb, and then we're moving on. I think we finished that little bit of the mouth that we didn't do first, and then we move on to another arm. Cool. I feel good about that. Sorry, I know I said I'd do the teeth, but I felt like maybe a little bit of shadow on this would be good. Okay. This one's fairly simple. I just gotta nearly black it out. Here we go. Real easy, real easy. I think there needs to be maybe a little bit more texture on some of these teeth too. So look at them. I feel like they're not quite there. They're not quite rendered the way I want them to. I want them to be like very irregular looking, you know? I felt like some of them were looking a little too, even though they're certainly not perfect rectangles and stuff, some of them were looking a little too perfect. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's also just how bright they are. Some of them are quite bright. Yeah, okay. Taking a small little break for my hand. I like trying to make the bones kind of like show through the skin a little bit. I guess, by the way, YouTube, if you're watching and this is of interest to you, I guess it must be if you're listening hour and 10 minutes in. But if you're ever curious what music I'm listening to, or you want to join in live, I am live most days on Twitch. Around like noonish PST, which I think is like 3 Eastern Standard, 2 Central. I'm live on Twitch at Uncle Basement. And honestly, I set up a lot of little funny, weird interactions on Twitch. Free ones. So if that is interesting to you, I am happy to have you. I need more nibblings on Twitch, you know. Right now I've got most of them on YouTube, which is totally fine. But I'm just also doing this live, you know. So like, you like it. If you like it, you can say hi. Okay. Okay. All right. Make the forearm skinnier too to kind of show more bone too. What does that wrist bone look like? I'm not quite that skinny. Can't really tell. But I can imagine, I guess. Okay. I think this will also help his clothing stand out a little bit more. Because I thought before it was kind of blending in. Like, I feel like it blends in here a little bit. But certainly doesn't, like, at the sleeve here, right? Like, there, it does not blend in. So, I like that. That's not me popping my wrist. That's Velcro on my glove. Hopefully that didn't gross anybody out. This palm is interesting because, you know, the palm is always like a little bit of like a fatty part or fleshy part of your body, but when it's like super decrepit, I don't know. Like fingers make sense. And the back of the hand, I feel like that also makes sense. But the palm is a little bit more interesting because I think it's a really fine balance to how fleshy you want it to look. I think not spending enough time with this thumb is catching up to me. It's not bad. It's not bad, but I could have spent a little bit more time on it, at least when I constructed it. I think this is a pretty appropriate time to use basically just, what is it, like the beta, where you just fill in a lot of black? I don't have to do that for a lot of this, but I do think it needs it in certain spots because it just makes more sense to render it that way. Okay, that took a lot less time than I expected, actually. And I really like it, actually. I think we go for the rest of the body. We do the cloth, sword, floor, and the border. And then we're pretty much finished there. We're pretty much finished with that. The border will be interesting. The border will be interesting because there is a lot there to work on. Okay, let's start just at the bottom of one of these legs. Okay. I kind of don't want this track. Mm-hmm. Oops. finding this little part to be a little tough. But how minimal I did it before made it look real nice. So adding so much to it, to kind of match up with the rest of the style, is quite difficult. I'm not loving this part. I really liked it before. Do I just erase it and restart? I don't know. I don't want to commit to that quite yet. I think there's still something here. I think I just gotta find it. I gotta really carve through this a bit. I wonder if I can just use a thin eraser to create some highlights in here. Just don't believe it would be this dark. You know? Let me throw a little bit of black over the top. Just a little bit. I think that's it. I think that's fixing a lot of problems here. Yeah, okay. Alright, I don't want to spend too much time noodling that. Just, not an easy part, that's all. Okay. Hmm. Got to attach some hair there. There it goes, looking kind of bald there. Like hair was kind of floating a little bit or something. Maybe that's just me though. This is one of the pieces I think I felt the most confident about in a while. I really enjoyed the Oswald cover I did recently, but I was certainly not feeling confident throughout that. I really was unsure with how it was going to turn out because it was so experimental. All right, need another quick stretch break. If you're not stretching, you should be stretching. Just a little bit here and there, you know, makes a big difference. You gotta be a little subtle with the what's it called? Shading on the eye. Or the eyes, I guess, plural. Oops. This leg certainly is taking longer than I expected. And I didn't even do the hooves yet. The more that I do work like this, where I'm like really trying hard to think about how limbs attach and how they are all working together and stuff, the more fun it is. And I feel like somebody with like Ludwig, who's kind of this amalgam monstrosity, makes it really fun because there's a little bit of leeway with it. You don't have to be like super duper accurate or whatever, but the more that you think about it, the more accurate that you are, the better it does look. It looks much better than I expected it to. Hope you can't hear my stomach growling. I've gotten hungry. Okay. I think it's just a little bit more attention I want above the eyes. And I think we're in a pretty good spot for this leg here. Oof, my stomach is growling. have some leftovers in the fridge, so I'm thankful for that. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that leg. I think I just need to do the hoof real quick. Just a little bit left on the edge there. Maybe looks pretty interesting. I know I had a little bit of trouble with them before. I'm trying to be very thoughtful about this. I think that's okay. I think that is all right. Okay, a nice and easy one is gonna be this back leg here. Just because I don't actually need to like texture it or anything. It's entirely in shadow. So it's just cross hatching back and forth till I feel like it's dark enough. All right, I think I might be wrapping this one up in about 10 minutes. Because I don't want to go too long today. The reason for that is I actually have a lot of other stuff I need to draw off stream. And I think I'll also do more of this tomorrow. And that does mean tomorrow for you as well, YouTube, because I'll probably upload this. The next morning. And I plan on doing this for 3 days at least, maybe even more, maybe more. So I'll likely be doing it tomorrow, or maybe even while you're watching. I might be live. So who knows? Who knows? But at least expect 3 more. Or sorry, not 3 more, 2 more of these VODs. Nice, I feel good about that. A few more minutes, so I think I'm gonna get this other back leg. And that seems like a pretty good spot. Seems like a pretty good spot to end on. Okay. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Okay. Well, I'm gonna save. We already did hit save. But YouTube, I'm out of here for today. But if this is of interest to you, I am live on Twitch most days. Again, from about noon to like 3-ish, 4-ish. Nearly every day on Twitch. That's PST, so maybe it's like 3 o'clock Eastern Standard. Got a lot of fun integrations here. So play around with them. And I will be live tomorrow. Expect another VOD tomorrow, and maybe the day after that. So I will see you. And if you're still here and you haven't eaten, go eat. And if you haven't drinking water, go drink water. And then maybe after you're done with that, maybe draw some more. Okay. I will see you, YouTube. Bye-bye.